Hi, welcome back to Worm's Eye View. I am going to be doing a book review and sort of a reading roundup for this video. I haven't done one for probably 2 weeks, might even be 3 weeks. I can't actually remember. June was definitely my last. So I've got the end of what I was reading in June and then what I've been reading so far in July. What are we on now? The 14th, 15th, 17th of July, I think. Something like that. Anyway, so this is the book I was reading. I don't want to go into too much depth on them because I have got quite a few to go through. But this one is The Lake of Dreams by Kim Edwards. Now, I read her other book, which was The Secret Keeper's Daughter. And like that book, this was quite slow. It was really good, but it was quite slow. But then the whole story is that kind of, it's very slow paced. So it has a lot of sort of lovely moments in it. It's a girl whose father died when she was younger in an accident. And she moves away and she travels and she lives abroad. And then her mum has a car accident and hurt herself. And so she comes home. And she kind of reconnects with family, reconnects with old friends. And, you know, life has moved on without her, basically. She's, you know, her mum wants to sell the house and various other things, but she finds information in the house about people that turn out to be members of her family that she never knew about. So a history she didn't know about, a very powerful kind of suffragettes, women who were suffragettes, and because of their beliefs and because of their fight for women's rights, they ended up kind of being left out of the family history. And so it is a really interesting story. So if that sort of thing interests you, this is definitely worth a read. But like I said, it is a bit slow going. Okay, Sophie Kinsella. I have read a couple of her books now, and they are quite funny. I'm probably going to offend somebody now, but I call them a bit of a trashy read. I don't feel they've got a huge amount of depth to them. And they're kind of like your holiday read that you could probably just sit on a beach and read and, you know, dip in and out of really quickly and easily without thinking, what have I missed? And, you know, kind of lacking substance. I'm probably going to get absolutely slated now by Sophie Kinsella fans. I have no problem with her books at all. But they are just, I sometimes like something with a little bit more depth. Sorry. Anyway, this one is about her going off to, and I get the impression they all kind of lead one on to the other as well, and I've only read a couple and not in order. But she's whizzed off to Las Vegas to rescue her dad, who has mysteriously disappeared with a friend of his, and the husband of her best friend, Susie, or Suze. Anyway, partway through, they contact her dad, managed to get hold of him, and he says, I'm fine, I've just got something to deal with. Go home and I'll be back in a week or so. To me, if that was my dad, I'd say, okay, please stay safe. You know, you're a grown man. Can you call so we know you're okay? And that would be the end of it. But no, they go trekking off in this motorhome with her mum's best friend and her husband and various other people on what seems to be a pretty needless trip. And her daughter. So it was an okay story, but the concept I thought seemed a bit pointless. But it was okay for a light-hearted read. It was fine. It was fine. Okay, this one was by Ali Shaw, The Girl with the Glass Feet. Now, was this the book that I thought Ali Shaw was a girl and turns out Ali is a boy? Or maybe that was a different... By him, yes. So Ali turns out to be a boy. So I actually thought this was a girl writing this. Anyway, this is when Ida McLeod realises she is slowly turning into glass, she returns to the strange enchanted island where she believes the glass first took hold, in search of the one man who might be able to cure her. But when she meets young Midas Crook, another transformation begins. As Midas helps Ida to come to terms with her affliction, they start to fall in love. What they need most is time, and the time is fast slipping away. Will they find a way to halt the spread of the glass? This is lovely, well-written book. I imagined it to be very fantasy, and it's not. It's set now. It's set just on an island, sort of. So there's nothing hugely fictional. Not fictional. Nothing hugely. What's the word I've just used? My brain today has stopped. You know, it's not sort of some magical fantasy world. But she does have this glass infliction, I want to call it, that is spreading up her body. It will eventually take over. There are these amazing little cow things that fly around that are super cool. I mean, I wish they were like real life things. And it just seems like this one place seems to have been kind of protected, I suppose. It's, you know, because it's such a small island and it's not so hugely populated, wildlife that we've never come across and things we've never come across have flourished, I guess is what I'm saying. Really enjoyed it. There were tears, a little bit of tears. I'm not going to tell you what happens, you have to read it, it's lovely. Okay, then I wanted something a bit more light-hearted after the tears. John O'Farrell, May Contain Nuts. So this is about a London family who are growing, how can I put this? So they're a London family who are kind of trying to keep up with the Joneses, I guess, and with other people who send their kids to private school, who are hot housing their children, who, you know, whose kids could be the best, but it's all under very under this kind of guise of, oh, you know, oh yes, aren't they doing delightfully? Oh well, our darling so and so is just doing this in French, and they've learnt Cantonese, and you know, it's just like ridiculous kind of hot housing and over the top parenting, and it starts off very much keeping up with the Joneses and making sure their child gets the exam results she needs to get into Chelsea College or something, I think it's called. And in the end, they decide to do something very drastic because they realise their daughter's not going to pass the exam. So they do something very drastic, and in doing so, the mother is thrown into a kind of a reality kick, and starts to have contact with the estate not very far from them, with the high-rise flats and the people with less money, and a girl that lives there, and starts to re-evaluate her choices in her life and what have you. It is funny. It is a funny book, and if you are a parent, I think you'll find it. You'll be able to relate to bits of it. I mean, hopefully not many of you will be able to relate to this whole, you know, hot housing, but, you know, people do hot house their kids. Anyway, the next ones. So, my lovely friend, Chloe, sent me a swap box, and she sent me these two books, which I thought were going to be amazing. I mean, the titles, Dancing in My Nudie Pants, and that's when it fell off in my hand. I mean, they sound like they're going to be really funny. Unfortunately, okay, so my camera ran out of space, so I had to delete a couple of videos. What was I saying? Yes, so I thought these were going to be hilarious. They sounded hilarious. Unfortunately, and I'm really sorry, Chloe, I didn't enjoy them. I started reading and then I couldn't. And the reason is they're actually sort of young adult books, which are fine. I read a lot of young adult books, and I enjoy a lot of young adult books. This talked about things that were kind of 17, 18-year-old sort of, you know, so, you know, sex and boys and kissing and all the rest of it kind of came into it. And I've read a lot of young adult books that deal with, in fact, one I'm going to come to that I have just finished, has, you know, deals with 17, 18-year-olds, and actually it, in fact, no, it wasn't 16, 17-year-olds, but it was written in a far more sophisticated way, I guess. This uses a lot of baby talk, so many made up words. The people don't actually have real names. She refers to them as sex god and somebody laughing. She throws in French words randomly. I don't know, the whole thing just, it's really difficult to read. It's like it doesn't know whether it is a 9-year-old's book or a teenager's book. So the writing style would probably appeal to 9-year-olds, but the content is not appropriate for 9-year-olds. So I'm not really sure what it's trying to be. Unfortunately, they were not for me. So I'm going to take them to a charity shop when I take these and pass them on to someone who might enjoy them. So yes, sorry Chloe, lovely thought. Okay, now my lad Kenzie. I've got a stunt plane out there now doing stunts. So, my lad Kenzie, for my birthday back at the end of June, bought me this. And he bought me 4 books from the school library. That was so sweet of him. 2 of them are part of a series, and we need to get 1 and 2 because he's managed to get me 3 and 4, but they look like they're going to be really good. So yeah, this is a kid's book. Sort of, again, you know, older. It's not quite a young adults, I don't think. And it's set in like a ghoul school, so like it's gruesome Grange. Has a bit of a Harry Potter-esque feel to it, but more simply written. And this was really fun, actually. I know it's a kid's book, and I'm hoping I can get Kenzie to read it and enjoy it now that I've finished it. So I'm going to pass it on to him and hopefully get him to read it. But it was really good. If you like Harry Potter, your children like Harry Potter, and want to be able to read something that is like Harry Potter but not quite so in depth, this is one to try. So Anthony Horwitz Return to Gruesome Grange. I assume there was a first Gruesome Grange because it says return. Okay, the next one I read was The Salem Witch Society by K.N. Shields. Now, I'd heard quite a bit about them. It's not actually about the Salem witch trials, although it dips into the Salem witch trials, but it's actually years later, a woman's body is found savagely murdered, her body arranged in a death pose of a witch. Someone or something is reviving the terror of the notorious Salem witch hunts, and only one man, a brilliant, eccentric loner with a dazzling mind and a fascination for witchcraft, can keep the evils of the past at bay. This had twists, it had turns, it had history. It was well written. It was set in 1892? Was it 1892? It says 1892 here. Yes, 1892. So really enjoyable. I'm not usually one for sort of period books or period TV shows or anything like that, but I did really like that. This book had some real, we've got a helicopter now, it's getting really noisy out there. But I did really enjoy this book, and I would recommend it. Some people have said they haven't enjoyed it, and that's fair enough. We don't all like the same thing. I'm not sure what it was they didn't like about it. It wasn't what they were expecting. But I found the characters engaging. I started to guess that things might happen, and then they didn't happen, and then, you know, it was really good. Really worth a read if you're into that sort of thing. Then, this one I've been wanting to read for quite a while. I read The End of Mr. Y, and really enjoyed that book. And typically of what seems to be her writing, Scarlett Thomas's writing, Popco is also full of sort of factual information mixed into the storyline. So this one kind of covers the whole corporate throwing advertising down our kids' throats, you know, persuading people they need things, you know, the whole kind of sales pitches on things and kind of tricking people into believing they need things that they don't really need, and lots of sort of secret messages. There's loads in here about decoding, so loads of information about decoding strategies and techniques from the war. It's just It's really interesting. What I like about her books is the stories are there, but you learn something at the same time. So before I was learning about various physics type theories in The End of Mr. Y, and in this I've learned interesting things about secret codes and how they're used, and how they were deciphered, and really, really good book. Really enjoyed it. Was not disappointed. If you like The End of Mr. Y, you'll definitely like this one. Definitely recommend it. Then this has also been on my list for a while, and I don't know if it is one of a set, but I've seen similar books with different titles, and I think they're part that if they're not part of this story, then I imagine they're probably very similar in the style, because Maggie Stiefvater, I can't pronounce that, has done a really good job of writing a young adult's book. So it's actually scholastic, so it's classed as a children's book, but a young adult's book that touches on kind of coming of age. It's based, so if it's, I'll read you what it says here. It says, when a local boy is killed by wolves, Grace's small town becomes a place of fear and suspicion. But Grace can't help being fascinated by the pack, and by one yellow-eyed wolf in particular. There is something about him, something almost human. Then she meets a yellow-eyed boy whose familiarity takes her breath away. So the book is about werewolves, but not werewolves in the way we've probably all learnt about werewolves, or, kind of had that story of werewolves. She was attacked by a pack of wolves, and it's left her having the ability to sense things that others can't really. And when a lad at her school is attacked by wolves and is killed, the story kind of hots up, and it's a really lovely take on the idea of werewolves. Actually, I guess it's a bit like, I mean, I've never read or watched Twilight or anything like that, but I get the impression that the vampire stories of Twilight are not as gruesome as other vampire stories, or are not quite as we've been led vampires to believe. And I guess this is a Twilight type twist on werewolves. So there's a love story, coming of age, werewolves. It's really, really lovely. I'm getting really annoyed with that stump plane. Anyway, yeah, definitely. If you know a young adult who would enjoy this, then definitely worth getting for them. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I am 41 and loved the story, and I will definitely be checking out the others that I've seen with similar front covers, because I'm pretty certain they're by the same person. So they are, I'm keeping my eyes open for those. And this one I have literally just finished last night. Again, there were some tears. I was holding back some tears with these. This is called The Lovely Bones. Apparently it is now a major motion picture. Well, it was in 2004, I think, because Lee has just got the film for me, which I've not watched yet, because like I said, I've only finished this last night, and I didn't want to watch the film until I'd finished the book. So it's told from, the story is told from the perspective of Sally, who was murdered by, he is a paedophile, but he's not just interested in young girls. He's killed in the past, and he kills again. But he's a neighbour, and the whole story of when she is gone, what she sees from her heaven, what happens to her family, how her death affects her sister, her brother, her mum, her dad, their relationship, her grandma. So she's watching her friends, so she's seeing them grow up. She watches him, the murderer, and are the police going to work out it's him? And it's a really lovely, I can't explain it. I keep saying everything's a really lovely story. It is a really lovely story. Very well written. And I don't like things about, I don't like things about paedophiles. Of course I don't like things about paedophiles, but those sorts of things tend to really, I find them hard to read. I don't like things where children have been hurt or abused. I think, especially with my job, looking after children every day, I find that really, really hard to stomach. so I won't watch programmes about it. I don't read the newspaper. I don't want to see anything about it. I was a bit worried about this book, knowing that it, you know, you knew that he had ulterior motives, and it wasn't just about him murdering her. Something else was bound to happen to her first, which inevitably did. But it wasn't, the book wasn't about that. It happened, and then it moved on quite quickly onto the story, and the story is more about what happens after her death. And I'm hoping the film will be like that. I'm hoping the film touches more on that and is more true to the story than it does on that element of the story, if that makes sense. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing the film, and I don't know how true to the book it will be, so it will be quite interesting to see that. So that is my huge pile of books that I have been reading through the end of June, through to now, Tuesday the whatever we're on, 17th or 18th or whatever it is. I'm lost in time. Okay, so I am reading another book, which I probably should have brought in to show you. I've literally only about 3 or 4 pages through, and after that quite in-depth book, I wanted something a bit more light-hearted, so I've gone for, can't remember exactly what it's called, the ex-wives club or something. Like I said, I'm not even a chapter into it. I've literally only read a couple of pages with my cup of tea this morning. So I couldn't tell you anything about it, to be honest, but hopefully it's good. I'll let you know in my next book review. So if you like these videos, please subscribe, please give me a thumbs up, please leave me a comment with any recommendations or any comments on any of the books that I have read or you think I would enjoy reading. If you like any activities for young children, play activities, play through learning, having fun with your kids, then check out my videos to do with early years and play. If you like shopping hauls, check out my shopping haul videos. If you like unboxings, then I have done a few videos with swap boxes and that kind of thing. And I do the occasional toy unboxing, and I'm just about to put up my video of my retro toy, smallest toy in the world blind boxes. So check that out. I think that's everything. Enjoy the rest of your day.